Wind's great voice whispers everywhere. Like a swarm of bats, it sweeps the dark from island to island, realigns from star to star. Wind swallows the moon and tangles the hairs of Saturn, inverts its halos and hooks them one inside the other. The hands of wind reach in from farthest space, tossing through the branches. It transports with a telepathic will, intimate in sparrow's breath. Wind's thousand voices have reverberated through time before galaxies wheeled like icebergs, a sum of incarnations of all things dead and not yet born. It flies with ancient universes clinging to its arms, which swathe and rock the infant world.
Welcome to Poetry Night Live. Poetry Night Live is on VHTV every Thursday evening, and we present poetry and have poetry readings and discussions with poets. Tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. My guest is Marcielle Brandler, poet, and a little bit later on the show we're going to have Benita Bradley, her partner, who does dance interpretations while Marcielle reads poetry. So that's the first. Poetry and dance is going to be a first for Poetry Night Live. Anyway, welcome to the show, Marcielle.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing poetry?
Well, I used to be a singer, songwriter, and while I was at the university, I started writing plays. And sort of a cop-out, actually. I wrote poems just on a burst of passion, and writing plays, you had to stay with it. And for me, I write mostly by inspiration, so it sort of just accidentally happened. I lost interest in singing, came back to LA with my BA, and got involved with a lot of other poets and started as a result of writing a lot and meeting people and realizing that there's an audience for poetry, started performing. So that's kind of how it happened.
Which university did you go to?
Of Utah, University of Utah.
Are you native to that area?
No, California.
Oh, okay.
I just went there for a few years and came back to LA.
Right. And so when, how old were you when you started taking up singing?
All my life I was singing in churches and schools, and they'd always make me do the solos and stuff, and you know, so I have a high soprano, and so I took up the guitar so that I could sing in clubs, but I didn't like the surroundings. I was too young, I think, you know, I was just too vulnerable for clubs and stuff, and so I just decided that I wanted to immerse myself more in writing rather than performing at that time.
But you do like to perform your poetry and read it aloud.
Oh yeah, crazy about it.
You've been doing that in clubs.
Yeah, and all different kinds of venues. We did a Gorky series. We did this thing at this little stage called the Los Angeles City Stage. We performed there, and just many, many venues. We've done benefits for American Indians and the homeless and all kinds of things.
Okay, well, why don't we get to poetry? Would you like to read us some poems?
Okay. This is based on some studies that I did, some anthropological studies, and there's a forest in New Guinea called the Iuri forest, and so this is about that. Okay. In the Iuri forest, vines have been whispering for centuries behind jungle walls. Like black sprouts, the Bambuti tribe step from cool density. The Bambuti tribe line up to greet strangers. Their hands are leaf dark in a slanting haze. A scholar files talkies of them across the waters in a catacomb of film cans. Dozer teeth flatten the forest. Tobacco plant fumes and jeep grinds track the elephants through the green. Processions of elephants tromp like one roll of thunder. Together, above leaning grass tips, they swing their trunks in one call as they carry shrinking chants in their ears.
Oh, that's very unusual. What well, you were telling us, but tell us a little more about what prompted this poem and interest.
Well, when I was at the university, you're always asked to write papers, and so for philosophy classes, I wrote a paper called Materialism, a Threat to Paradise. And I was just drawn to studies of primitive peoples. And I see, you see in the city this greed and desire and madness, and in the forest, especially the Iuri forest, the children never cry. There's a lot to be said for civilization, yet there's so much corruption, and they live in a world of innocence. And I think bringing it to an imagistic realization to an audience it helps people to create more of a peace within their own lives, and realizing that silence is beautiful. So that's partly what this poem is about.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be silent. Beautiful. I'll let you read another poem.
Okay. This is a piece that we perform, this wonderful man, Michael Valentine Smith, and he plays the congas when I do the hand movements. This is about the American Indian. I will speak to you in the sacred hand movements. I will tell you a story about the before and the after. But there were Indians before. We could have had settled peaceably. Things were going real fine. There was a log in a very huge forest. The sky was troubled and confused. We saw these squiggly racks, real tall ones with dead bodies on them and trinkets. Well, we didn't think nothing of it, just burned them down. A spirit came down from the sky and hid in the log and decided to come out because he was hungry. And out of nowhere, some redskin come up and start shooting arrows. Imagine that. He looked and looked for food. A wolf showed him where he could find food and a place to sleep. Well, we just blasted the hell out of him, that's all. After. Why don't they get politically organized? Everyone else does. It is windy today. The Great Spirit has something to say to me. I must walk as long as it takes. All they do is drink. You visit a reservation and you could die of boredom. 3 eagles stopped on the rocks. We stood watching one another for the longest time. The moon came and they left. You never see them at a museum or a rock festival. They don't even allow whites on their lands. Who do they think they are? The Earth Mother is thinking. She says she has a decision to make. There is something she must choose. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. Very, it seems like there were a number of different voices in that poem, personalities that were being depicted.
It's the before is sort of like, well, it was inspired because I had the TV on and I was running around the house and I heard someone say on the TV in the old television, you know, westerns, something about blah, 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 but there were engines. We didn't have no way to get there, you know. And I thought, how dare they? It really made me angry, you know. And I don't know, somehow I just spat this poem out, and then I was rehearsing it in front of the mirror, and I got the idea that I should do sign language, Indian speak in the hand movements. And so I decided that I would do that. And basically the story, the serious voice is the Indian telling the story, the creation story. And that's the before, and then the after is modern times. So the voice changes a little bit of the sort of the unaware person who doesn't know about Indian culture, and saying, you know, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Who are they? And the Indian saying, I don't need those things because I have this, you know, in a more reverent. So that's just my personal feeling about the Indians.
Yeah, I got those different personalities in the voices. The hand gestures that you used, were those actual Indian Sign Language that you learned from Indians?
No, I researched it.
Okay.
A lot of my poems, I get an idea or whatever, and I research, and I don't present it to an audience until I have it down. So.
Okay. Well, great. Okay, how about another poem?
Okay. So I don't want to get these mixed up. An eyewitness to the cover-up, already obsolete by the time his testimony left his lips. It's a sin to throw a laugh at the high-ups with their disjointed wings, which they hand down to the others, holy feathers with alma mater falling on the boys playing ball near the street, on a sun-baked subway where the echoes and pissy stains soak into you permanently. You can go home to wash, but the stain just spreads all over the bathroom, all over your shoelaces, all over your mother when you hug her. But that's okay, because your mother spreads all over the guys you tackle, all over the onions you shop for, and on the buildings you lean against. It's all a matter of seepage. Obviously comic.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Your mother spreading all over the guys you tackle.
Goofy, yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious about some of the poets that you admire or people that you feel have been influences on you in your reading.
William Blake, a lot. I'm attracted to the prophetic, but not necessarily those who claim to be prophets, you know, and also he has such an eclectic interest. I love him, and I love Dylan Thomas. Every time I read Dylan Thomas, I write. So if ever I get stuck, I pick up Dylan Thomas.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of magic of language, especially in Dylan Thomas.
Yes.
And I can see the parallel interests with Blake.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Great.
crazy about Blake.
Okay, well, how about another poem?
Okay.